Thanks, Clive. Friday evening, 6:30. Let's wrap up the week here on Look North. The curse of fly tipping and how cleaning it up busts budgets for councils.
Mostly people feel that people are unaffected by it, but they're absolutely not unaffected by it. We are all paying in the end.
In Calderdale alone, it costs £1 million a year to clean it up. Also coming up tonight, the strangers rallying to help a young mother get life-extending cancer treatment. Meet Nikki, ploughing a new furrow as Bradford's first ever female gritter driver. And we sit down for a natter with Gareth Gates as he brings a brand new show to Sheffield.
And there was more cloud around today, but the promise of plenty of sunshine for the weekend. What about next week? I'll be back at the end of the programme with all the details.
Hello there, thanks for your company. We start tonight with a warning from one Yorkshire council that we are all victims of fly tipping. Millions of pounds of taxpayers' money is spent each year clearing up rubbish that has been illegally dumped. That pushes council tax bills up, and it means there's less cash available to spend on other vital services. Take a look at these numbers. Last year, there were over 75,000 incidents of fly tipping. That's right across our region. And that is an increase of 9% from the year before, and the first rise for 5 years. Now, to try and deter people from dumping waste, over 1,200 fixed penalty notices were issued by all of our councils last year. The fines paid brought in £55,000, but in Calderdale alone, they say fly tipping has cost taxpayers more than £1 million in 12 months. Gemma Dillon has been to see how they are trying to tackle the problem.
We see furniture, sofas, chairs. There was a fridge down the road a couple of weeks ago. And then we see smaller bits. We see sort of DIY trimmings from carpets, bits of wood. We see builders' rubble in sacks.
Fly tipping causes misery and frustration for communities right across our region. Calderdale Council rely on volunteers to report instances of fly tipping across the district.
It's sickening. You know, you just feel angry and sad. And because it keeps happening, it just gets frustrating. Some spots are sort of hot spots where there's a lot gets dumped regularly. And it'll be cleared out, the team will come, remove whatever it is, and then a week or two later, there's something else there.
The council are taking it seriously and have changed their approach in recent years with dedicated teams.
From a kind of internal kind of point of view, I think we've got a really motivated, dedicated team. You know, a team that are out there lifting and shifting rubbish and want to deal with it, want to combat it, want to kind of prosecute people and hold people responsible for that. And then it's also given us a bit of kind of insight into patterns, locations, types of waste, understanding kind of what we're dealing with a little bit better and in more detail.
This vehicle was seized as its owner was involved in fly tipping.
We seize vehicles off people who have been fly tipping when we find the vehicles who've been involved in fly tipping. Shows how serious we do take fly tipping in Calderdale, where we will, if we have to, seize a vehicle and get it crushed if necessary.
The cost of dealing with fly tipping often falls to local authorities, who say we're all victims of that crime.
It costs our area in a raw cost up to £1 million. Fly tipping by large, I think mostly people feel that people are unaffected by it, but they're absolutely not unaffected by it. We are all paying in the end. And as you've said, our budgets are becoming more and more stretched, and that will impact in other areas of our delivery.
Over the last 2 weeks, councils across Yorkshire have set their budgets for the next financial year and have a real frustration that money spent clearing up waste could be better spent elsewhere. Gemma Dillon, BBC Look North, Halifax.
Thanks, Gemma. Next tonight, the heartbreaking story of a young mum's efforts to spend more time with her little boy. Sophie White, who's from Rotherham, had a seizure out of the blue just over a year ago. It turned out to be a brain tumour, which is growing and is now inoperable. She's been fundraising to pay for extraordinary treatment in Germany, which could prolong her life. It starts on Monday, but she still needs to raise thousands more pounds. Kathy Killick has the story.
Go with me. No, not that. We're all helping.
If you didn't know the heartache this family is going through, you'd never guess. 2-year-old Remy is bright as a button, a credit to his mum Sophie and nanny Helen. But Sophie was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumour, glioblastoma, shortly after Remy was born.
I found out obviously that I had 12 to 18 months left to live, so that were all quite like a big moment for me. Like, I was just like, what do I do with myself? Like, that's no time to, like, for anybody really, let alone like someone with a young like family kind of thing. So yeah, it was quite hard.
The cancer has survived 2 surgeries and 3 rounds of chemotherapy. Sophie's only hope now is specialist immunotherapy in Germany, which will cost £200,000. £37,000 has been raised on a GoFundMe page, enough to start the treatment on Monday. A cure is unlikely, but it could give Sophie more precious time with Remy.
I'm hoping that it's going to shrink Sophie's tumour and give her much more time to be a mum to Remy. I think having a positive attitude is really important, and believing that something is going to work, because otherwise you're just going to sit about feeling sorry for yourself, and life's too short for that. So we live with the hope and positivity that something's going to work.
Yay!
She's my princess, she's my little girl, so I want her to be around for me and for us to be a family.
Yeah!
Sophie tries not to let Remy see she's ill. She wants the best out of the time she has left with him, and both women show not a shred of self-pity. They're just grateful for the support they've received so far.
It blows your mind that you're just such a small person in this world, and then there's so many people that want to help you. It's incredible.
I just want to say thank you to everyone from the bottom of my heart. We couldn't have ever done anything like this. I'm getting quite tearful now, because I didn't ever think that like the community would come together. So yeah, it's really nice. But yeah, thank you.
Sophie White ending that report from Kathy Killick. Well, earlier today I spoke to Dr Anke Bruning-Richardson, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Huddersfield, as well as a specialist research trustee at Yorkshire's Brain Tumour Charity. I began by asking her how rare cases like Sophie's are.
Well, if you compare it to other cancer types, it is very rare. However, it is unfortunately one of the most aggressive types of cancer that you can encounter. So it is very sad that this is happening to this poor lady.
How much potential is there in the treatment that she's going to receive in Germany?
Well, I think she's gone through all the ordinary treatments, surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy. Now, this approach in Germany is different. It's looking at sort of re-stimulating your immune response to these tumours, which is normally sort of taken away, partly because of where the tumours are and partly by the tumours themselves. They can actually dampen the immune response. So it is a promising approach.
But of course, very expensive, hence that fundraising.
Yes.
How do we make that sort of treatment more available and readily available on your doorstep?
Well, the problem is that this particular treatment has not been approved by clinical trials, so it is an experimental, I think, still procedure has been taken care of in Germany, and obviously the patient has to go there, and it's very personalised treatment, so cells from the patients are taken and used for the treatment, so that makes it really expensive. We have ongoing trials here in the UK in terms of immunotherapy, and they have progressed into different stages but have not been approved yet. So we just really have to wait for the outcome of these.
And I'm imagining that it's just down to research and looking for those breakthroughs, and that is not a fast or simple process, is it?
No, unfortunately not. So we have a very strong research group in the UK working on brain tumours. However, we're still lagging behind in terms of knowing about the biology of these tumours. Having improved diagnostics is very important, early diagnosis, and also having improved treatment options, because these ordinary treatment options, surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, do not work in the long term, and we are lagging behind there in comparison to other cancer types, such as breast cancer. So we really need to focus much more on the research, which obviously needs also funding.
Anke, thank you so much indeed for explaining the situation to us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
You're watching Friday's Look North. Still to go on tonight's programme, we're off to the rugby.
We're at the Jungle, where there's a bottom of the table clash between the Castleford Tigers and the Salford Red Devils, as both teams try to get their first win of the season.
Now, a roundup of other stories coming into our newsroom, and 4 men have been sentenced today in one of the biggest ever money laundering cases in the UK. During a 5-month trial, Leeds Crown Court heard that the group was involved in an operation to launder more than £200 million of criminal cash and turn it into untraceable gold through Fowler Oldfield, a Bradford gold dealer. With the story, Abby Jaola.
No one has ever come forward to claim the cash seized by West Yorkshire Police. They say they have no doubt the money is linked to criminal activity. Daniel Rawson was in court today, the only one of the 4 men convicted to be here for his sentencing. CCTV evidence showed him handling large piles of cash. He was described as playing a leading role in the offence, which saw at times up to £1 million a day being handled by the business. The money laundering was described as a sophisticated offence with significant planning. Today, Rawson was sentenced to 10 years and 10 months. 3 other men, Haroon Rashid, Gregory Frankel and Arjun Baba, are all believed to have fled the country, and there are arrest warrants out for them. They were sentenced to between 11 years, 8 months and 10 years. The other man who stood trial, James Stunt, the socialite and former son-in-law of Bernie Eccleston, was found not guilty in the trial earlier this week. Abby Jaola, BBC Look North, Leeds.
A former care home boss and a staff member who subjected elderly and vulnerable residents to humiliating and degrading treatment have been jailed. Helen Burridge ran the Riddlesden Rest Home in Keighley and was convicted of ill-treating 4 residents, while senior care assistant Amy Dickinson ill-treated 7 people. Bradford Crown Court heard how one woman who had dementia was slapped while another person was given alcohol to subdue them. The women were both sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. A head teacher who crashed while 3 times over the drink-drive limit can carry on teaching. Lorraine Bradley had been drinking Prosecco the night before and had crashed while driving to work in 2023. A misconduct panel heard the teacher at Redillion Academy in Wakefield resigned from her job after the crash. She admitted drink driving with the Teaching Regulation Agency, finding there was a strong public interest consideration for allowing her to stay in the profession. OK, let's turn to the sport now. Tonight's Super League game is a bottom-of-the-table clash between Castleford Tigers and Salford Red Devils. Now, both teams have had a very troubled start to the season, so tonight is an opportunity for one of them to notch up a valuable first win. Our sport reporter, Sally Hurst, is at the Jungle now. Good evening, Sally.
Hello, Tom. Well, let's be honest, it has been a pretty terrible start to the season, hasn't it, for the Castleford Tigers? They've played 3 games, they've lost 3 games, and they also lost against Championship side Bradford Bulls in the Challenge Cup as well. But Salford Red Devils, they're in exactly the same boat. They've played 3, lost 3. So this is going to be a clash tonight, an opportunity for one or other of those teams to get their first win of the season. And of course, Cast Tigers have got their new head coach, Danny Maguire. We spoke to him earlier and he was very hopeful that things are going to improve.
We give some silly penalties away at the weekend, some silly errors, and we're just compounding it and making it even harder for ourselves. What already is a crazy tough game and a tough challenge, we can't afford to be off in some of these areas that we have been, and we just need to keep working on it, keep addressing it, keep understanding it, keep learning, and eventually we will get there.
Well, I'm joined now by James Clare, who's played for a decade for the Cast Tigers. What do you think it is that's just not quite gelling now with the Cast Tigers?
It's difficult to say when you don't know what's gelling, but I mean, just as an observer, you can see there's just been a little bit of lack of effort and a little bit of lack of discipline. And I mean, as a fan, if you speak to anybody here today, a Castleford Tigers fan especially, you just want your team to go out there and give it absolutely everything. I mean, no fan's ever complained if you lose by 2 points, but you've put absolutely everything out on the field. So I think Mags will be asking that from his players today. He won't be saying that we want to win. He'll just be wanting to see a performance from his team, especially in a home game, taking away everything from Salford. I mean, they've got a lot of good players stacked out today. and he just wants to see a desperate performance where he's giving something back to the fans.
The run-up to this game, though, has been pretty torrid for Salford Red Devils as well, with financial problems. We weren't even sure if this game was going to go ahead a couple of days ago. So how will that affect how Cass are prepared?
Yeah, do you know, I think it has a little bit of an effect, but I mean, as a professional league player, you're always in the mindset that you're thinking about yourself and your own performance. And as much as you look at the other team and you know it's absolutely stacked to England internationals, and you do your video on what the key threats are, but you worry about yourself and you'll be worrying about your own performance, and your mentality is right. You're a professional athlete at the end of the day, so you're preparing for a game, and it's going to be a tough game at that. So taking away things from Salford, I think Cass will be ready to put in a good performance tonight.
I think one thing's for certain, it's going to be a really good game because it brings out the best in teams when they've got something to fight for. So, turning to other sport now, and in netball, there is a brand new elite netball competition in Yorkshire this weekend, the Super Cup. It's at the Sheffield Arena, and it will see the 8 Super League teams competing in one day. The Super Cup, which includes, of course, Leeds Rhinos, comes a week before the start of Super League and marks the first step towards professionalisation of the game in the UK. But the former England and current Rhinos star Jiva Mentor says there's still a long way to go.
I think I'll be brutally honest that the sport, aside from the media interest and the bigger venues that we're playing at this year, we're not in that professional bracket yet. But the fact that we've got those ambitions to move into that is great. I mean, for me, it looks like athletes being able to create a full income off their salary, meaning they don't have to go to work and then train at the end of the day.
Well, here at the Jungle, spectators are just starting to come in. We've seen the cheer squad warming up. It's starting to hot up here tonight on a balmy evening at the Jungle. Kick-off is at 8 o'clock. Full match commentary on BBC Radio Leeds.
Thanks very much indeed, Sally. Good luck to the Cass Tigers tonight. Now, tomorrow is International Women's Day, and as the first female gritter driver in Bradford, Nikki Francis is something of a trailblazer. She embraced an apprenticeship in her 50s, learning to drive HGV vehicles, and is now a fully fledged member of the otherwise all-male gritter crew. She's already been a makeup artist, a croupier in a casino, and trained to be a pub landlord, but apparently driving lorries was always her dream. Heidi Tomlinson has been out on the grit.
In control at the wheel, Nikki Francis is in her element driving trucks.
Okay, so I'm going to put the beacons on because I'm going to start spreading and starting the spreader. You need a lot of patience. Keep your eyes on the ball, concentration.
Now, I don't normally express my views here on BBC Look North, but in my opinion, a woman driving a truck in 2025 is not a news story. However, Nikki is the first female gritter driver in Bradford. As an office-based stock controller for Bradford Council, Nikki had her eye on the gritters outside.
A lot of people don't like to drive in winter. I passed my driving test in winter. It's nothing new to me. I'm used to driving in snow.
Living in Queensbury, one of the highest areas in Bradford, that's no surprise. So when the opportunity arose to take her HGV licence, there was no hesitation, keen to show the men how it's done.
I'm an oddity at the moment because I'm the only one. It's something that they get used to, or they need to get used to if they don't like it.
The rest of the guys, obviously it's a bit different to have a woman there working with them, but they're happy with it. They don't say much, but they get on with it, and they're quite happy to have a woman working with them.
On the road, fellow drivers aren't always as supportive as male colleagues.
There was a transit van at the side of me, and the fella looked up, and he looked back and then looked again. And as I looked at him, all he did was stick his tongue out, and I thought, OK, fair enough.
Choosing to ignore the odd strange reaction, Nikki wants to encourage more women to take her career path.
Go for it. You've got a licence, you can work anywhere in the world. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and now I've got it. I can do it, and I'm so enjoying myself.
Nikki may be the first female gritter driver in this area, steering an 11-ton truck with ease. It's hoped she'll be the first of many. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Bradford.
Fantastic stuff. Now, while Nikki is trailblazing in Bradford, one stately home in South Yorkshire has begun a project to highlight the stories of women through its history. Wentworth Woodhouse near Rotherham has uncovered the stories of several significant women from its past, and it's sharing their stories on special guided tours. While some of the members of them are aristocracy, others are from, let's say, downstairs. And all of them are equally fascinating, as Kathy Minton reports.
There are plenty of examples of the female form at Wentworth Woodhouse. They're in the art, architecture and design everywhere. But when it comes to the history books, it's all very male, pale and stale. To fix this imbalance, historians and researchers have been combing the archives to find stories of the women of Wentworth.
So this is Lady Mabel Smith, who was in residence here in Wentworth. She was very active in the 20s and 30s. So from aristocratic beginnings, and she then made her way into local government. So Wentworth Woodhouse is a female-led organisation now, and it inspired us to look through the history books to find evidence of incredible women in the history of this house and see what we could find.
The result is a new tour which focuses on the lives of 6 Wentworth women.
Lady Mary herself, she was a great entertainer. She would often entertain the wives of the political figures.
Well, this is a photograph of Countess Maud. It dates from around 1902, and it just goes to show that women of the aristocracy are easy to track down historically. We've got photographs here from her entire life. We've got her watercolour sketchbook, and it gives us more of an insight into her life. But for the women who were working in this house below stairs, finding out their history is a bit more challenging. This paperwork is from the 18th century. It mentions Sarah Senegal, who worked at Wentworth as a laundry maid. In an early example of interracial marriage, she married footman George Senegal, a black man. The only thing left to show for Sarah Senegal's life is her name in official paperwork. But thanks to the hard work of the researchers and historians here at Wentworth, her story won't be forgotten. The final woman discussed on the tour is the late Dame Julie Kenny. She led the team who bought the dilapidated Wentworth Woodhouse in 2017. Her work has transformed the house into the community asset which we can all enjoy today. The Women of Substance tour is taking place throughout March. Kathy Minton, BBC Look North, Wentworth Woodhouse.
Thank you, Kathy. Do try and get along to Wentworth Woodhouse. It's absolutely fascinating. Finally tonight, he is the boy from Bradford who got his first big break on the television show Pop Idol. In the 20-plus years since then, Gareth Gates has become a musical theatre star and a producer of his own shows. This month, he's bringing a new mix of movie love songs to Bradford and Sheffield. First of all, welcome to Sheffield. Is this the first time you've ever stepped on stage at the City Hall?
Yes. In the past, I've done the arena lots of times. But never actually been here, and it's such a beautiful venue.
It's an astonishing building, so much history. You're going to get to add your name to the list of artists like the Beatles who've played here.
I almost feel sort of unworthy.
But if anyone has put the work in to deserve a shot at the City Hall, it's Bradford's Gareth Gates. His new show is a self-produced collection of classic love songs from the movies. He'll be in his home city on March the 14th before arriving in Sheffield at the end of the month. Pop Idol is how many years ago now?
23 years ago.
No way.
I'm getting old, mate.
And that probably put quite a lot of pressure on you as a young man. Was that the best route in, looking back? Is that the way you choose today?
People getting on board with artist is as much about getting to know them as a person as it is their music. And Pop Idol was perfect because they could see my journey, and that I struggle with my speech, and so getting people on board in that was a perfect vehicle for me, I think.
How important is Bradford to you these days?
I get back to Yorkshire and back to Bradford whenever I can. It will always be home for me, and it's big year for Bradford with they obviously won the City of Culture, so I've been doing a lot in Bradford for that.
Are you happy to be considered a heartthrob still?
I mean, if you're calling me a heartthrob, I'll take that.
I'm not proposing, but
yeah, I mean, it's it's very nice to get on stage and people swoon and whoop and scream. Even 23 years later to have that effect on people is kind of very flattering, I guess.
Good luck, Gareth. He was absolutely charming to spend some time with. That show is at the end of the month at Sheffield City Hall. Joining me now, someone I bet had a Gareth Gates poster on a wall at some point. Go on, you can tell us.
You know me well.
Or was it Will Young?
Well, it probably was Will Young, actually. I was not watching.
Oh, sorry, Gareth.
I think you're a heartthrob
We'll
too,
have to
don't
fire
worry.
you now.
23 years, I feel old. Yeah. We've had a lot more cloud around today compared with yesterday, but I have managed to find some of you weather watchers' pictures. We're seeing little glimmers of sunshine coming out there overhead in York this afternoon, and we've seen a little bit of sunshine elsewhere. And it turned out actually to be a pretty decent day. Most of the rain was overnight, and we reached over 14 degrees at Sheffield. We've got a lovely weekend to come, so I expect there'll be lots of pictures for Paul to show on Monday. You can load them up on the Weather Watchers page, or you can send them to us on social media, Keely.Donovan on Instagram. So yes, lots of lovely spring weather this weekend, a lot of dry weather, plenty of sunshine, and that sunshine is starting to have a bit of strength in it now. We're getting into March, but temperatures will be above average. We're actually going to be in between two weather systems through the weekend. With the air coming up from the southeast or in from the east, it will always be that little bit fresher along the coast, but inland we'll be in mild air until Monday. We've got this cold front pushing southwards later on Monday, and then next week it's going to get much chillier, a cold Arctic blast. So this is a satellite picture from earlier. Variable amounts of cloud probably sums it up best, and that's what it's like out there at the moment. So variable cloud this evening, but as that cloud thins and breaks overnight, we'll see better clear spells spreading from the south, and it'll be fine by the end of the night, with temperatures dropping back to around 5 or 6 degrees. Let's have a quick look at those high water times then. At 9 minutes past 11 in Filey and at 4 minutes to 11 in Scarborough. So we'll start the day tomorrow with plenty of sunshine. It looks like a lovely day, lots of dazzling spring sunshine. It's dry through the morning and on into the afternoon with plenty of sunshine. Temperatures well above average for the time of year. We should be at around 10 degrees, 61 Fahrenheit. Will feel very pleasant in the sunshine. It will always be a bit fresher along the coast, particularly I think on Sunday. But Sunday's another lovely day, dry and fine with some sunshine. Rain later on Monday and then cold through next week.
A warm weekend at the start of March. You were absolutely rehired again.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. We will take that. Thank you very much indeed, Keely. That is all we have from you for your 6:30 team. Do join us tonight at 10:30 for your turn down service and the latest news headlines from across Yorkshire. Thank you so much for your company. Bye-bye.